Brenda's existence was less a life lived and more a curated aesthetic, packaged in shades of blush pink and chamomile. Everything about her screamed ethical luxury. From the biodegradable bubble wrap she used for artisanal soaps to the way she arranged the perfect little ceramic garden gnome by her porch steps, every detail contributed to the myth of her flawless, naturally aligned existence. The centerpiece, however, was Flora, a magnificent Cattleya orchid, potted in what looked suspiciously like hand-thrown river clay and treated with more reverence than most people reserve for religious relics. Brenda didn't just own an orchid, she guarded it, viewing its delicate root structure as the single most fragile piece of art on the block. The problem was the bins. The narrow alley separating our properties, our only thoroughfare, was currently blocked by my overflowing recycling receptacles. They were heavy, industrial things, designed for functionality, not pastoral tranquility. I needed to slide them across the pavement and back onto my side before the sanitation crew arrived. I gripped the handle of the heaviest bin, bracing myself, when a shadow fell over me. Oh! The gasp was barely audible, yet it seemed amplified by the stillness of the morning. Brenda emerged from her front door, gliding rather than walking, dressed in linen that looked suspiciously unstained and topped with a wide sun hat that screamed expensive coastal getaway. She moved toward me like an invading butterfly. She didn't mention the bins directly. Instead, she placed one perfectly manicured finger, painted a soothing, earthy green, on my forearm. Her touch was feather-light, yet it felt like a physical restraint. She then exhaled a sigh so deep and dramatic it seemed to vibrate the dust off my jacket sleeves. "Excuse me," she whispered, leaning in close until I could smell the faint, overly sweet scent of cedarwood and expensive moisturizer. "You know, these chemicals." Her eyes, wide and rimmed with perfectly applied brown liner, drifted past me toward Flora. "They really upset Flora's delicate root structure." I straightened my arm slowly, careful not to let any flicker of irritation show. "They're plastic," I stated neutrally. "Oh, but it's not just the plastic, dear heart," she countered, her tone shifting into one of concerned pity. She gestured vaguely at the bins with a porcelain white hand. "It is everything you are handling. The residue, the fumes, they penetrate the soil. They disrupt the natural balance." The passive aggression was so dense it was almost visible, it shimmered like heat haze over asphalt. I felt myself getting hot, trapped between my need to clear the path and her impenetrable wall of saccharine disapproval. "Look," I tried, keeping my voice level. "I just have to move them a few feet." Brenda took a small, theatrical step backward, positioning herself squarely between me and the bins, effectively blocking any lateral movement. Her posture was rigid, almost defensive, like an oak sapling protecting its most treasured bloom from a sudden storm. "But you must consider Flora," she insisted, her voice dropping to an octave of breathless urgency. "The soil needs peace. It requires respect. Perhaps the bins could wait until you've switched entirely to compostable alternatives? Something natural." I stared at her over my shoulder. Brenda looked immaculate, utterly perfect, protected by the shimmering bubble of her lifestyle and the visible vulnerability of her prized orchid. I realized that her obsession wasn't just with botany, it was with control, the absolute control that only a pristine, uninhabited space could offer her to maintain her self-appointed natural sanctuary. I sighed, letting my shoulders slump in a show of mock exhaustion. Then, instead of moving the bins around her, I did something unexpected. I slid the entire stack of bins forward, pushing them until they rested against the porch railing, trapping Brenda's expensive garden gnome and placing one corner dangerously close to the ceramic pot holding Flora. Brenda gasped, a high, sharp sound that held a distinct note of genuine panic. Her eyes widened, fixed on the encroaching metal edge threatening her carefully arranged little world. "No. My gnome," she squeaked, finally breaking character's perfect composure. "You're going to chip it." I merely leaned against the bin stack, crossing my arms. The silence was heavy now, filled with the smell of soap and sudden confrontation. "Oh," I said quietly. "Sorry, Brenda. Looks like you need more room for your natural balance." It wasn't a lesson in composting, It was a masterclass in boundaries. She stood frozen, trapped by her own carefully curated petrifaction of perfection. The bins remained where they were until the afternoon collector arrived, leaving me with nothing but the satisfying knowledge that my mundane need had successfully chipped away at the veneer of her flawless routine.